During our childhood, Lisa was always one of the popular kids and was always surrounded by friends. She was a cheerleader during junior high and high school and was always the first in line to help anyone when they needed a helping hand. After high school, Lisa completed some career training and ultimately became a certified pharmacy technician. She married young, and after 2 failed relationships, she met someone who made her feel like the most wonderful person on planet Earth, and they married in late 2005. From the outside, he appeared to be this all-around good guy. He was very charming, intelligent, well-educated with a master's degree in engineering, had a good job with the federal government. He was also involved in the community as a Boy Scout leader and a soccer coach. We now refer to him as the Monster. My family suspected there were issues in their relationship fairly early on, as we became aware that he didn't like the time she spent with her friends. He was limiting the amount of time that she spent with us as her family. Their marriage failed within a few years, but ultimately they would remarry and divorce again. Despite the divorces, Lisa was never really able to get away from him. She moved out several times, but he always used their son as a bargaining chip to get her to come back, telling her she'd never see her son again if she left him. I thought things might actually change when she bought her own home in 2017 and that she might turn a new leaf. Unfortunately, starting a new life only lasted a few months, and by the end of that year, he had managed to convince her to come back. Lisa and her family came to visit us for about 5 days, which was a really amazing visit. It had been a long time since we'd spent that much time together. And I know she did mention several times that he was jealous of the amount of time we were spending together, just hanging out and being sisters, going to the beach and having fun. He could somehow sense that she was becoming stronger and wasn't going to put up with his abuse much longer. So much so that he threatened her in mid-August by telling her if she ever tried to leave him again, she'd be in a body bag. She told several of her friends about that threat. She told me about the threat as I was driving to Grand Rapids. I remember it very vividly because you just don't ever dream anything is going to really come to tragedy. It was less than a month later when we received the horrifying phone call on a Sunday afternoon that changed my life forever. My sister-in-law had called to let us know that Lisa had been murdered the night before by the Monster. I'll never forget where I was and what I was doing at that point in time, but it's just so hard to believe and get your head around. I was very angry, very sad, all of those things. Just couldn't believe it had really happened. As the story unfolded, we became aware that it was a very brutal murder and dismemberment that occurred in the Monster's home while their son was upstairs. I had previously believed that things like that only happened on TV and in movies. But I quickly realized if this can happen in my family, it can happen in any family across the U.S. Victims and survivors are in every space that we occupy. This is why it's so important that organizations like Safe Haven be available across all communities to help people like Lisa.
I'm here with Vickie Kunz, and Vickie was brave enough to share her story about the loss of her sister Lisa. And Vickie and I are going to continue the conversation together. I know this is a very big day for you. It marks the 2-year anniversary of your sister's death. So thank you for your bravery and for being willing to share that and continue the conversation.
Thank you, Megan, and thanks to Safe Haven for allowing me this opportunity. It really means a lot to my family and I.
How important do you think it is to share that it's not just physical abuse, that we want to make sure we're watching for warning signs?
I think it's very important. This just goes to show that things can very quickly escalate to that level, you just never know, and you shouldn't take that for granted. That, I think she's a good example that things did end in a huge tragedy.
And what types of abuse did you see in that behavior?
A lot of controlling, using their son as a bargaining chip constantly, telling her if she left him, she wouldn't see her son again, which, just isn't going to sit well with any mother out there. That was one of the big signs. And the way he was always checking up on her. Where are you going? When are you going to be back? Who are you going to be with?
What would you say stood out to you the most from the training that Safe Haven did?
It really opened my eyes to the signs that we had seen for years, but of course just never really realized that, oh my gosh, that's domestic abuse. Never take anything lightly, take everything very seriously, especially any and all threats. Domestic violence is very serious and very pervasive. And just encourage that person to get help. Take a moment, go out of your way to say to them, hey, have you talked with someone? I really want to see you get help and get out of this situation and stay safe.
How important is it for you to personally advocate for this topic of domestic violence?
I think it's very important because Safe Haven, as a nonprofit organization, and without your contributions, they don't have the resources to help individuals in the community. Not only do they house a large number of individuals at their location here in Grand Rapids, but they're also going into different workplaces and teaching staff there about domestic violence and just providing some education.
And I'm so sorry for your loss, and
thank you.
And for your family. You and your family will be in our prayers, that's for sure. And it just means so much that you'd be willing to share that story. I appreciate your bravery, and I know that it will make a difference for those who are listening. So thank you.
I hope so, and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to share Lisa's story.
Thank you. It means so much.